Hello, I'm Matt Peterson.
And I'm Rich Trappier.
And this is episode 37 of History on the Table. Rich, we got a busy episode. There's all kinds of good stuff.
I know, that's good though. I mean, it's good that we're not sitting here just talking about how we didn't get any games played this month.
Yeah, lots of stuff to go. We got a GMT update, which was early.
I know. I think they expected us to record last week. They didn't know about the con.
Yeah, right. So this is actually probably going to go live in the 1st of May. But it is April's episode, even though everyone listening to this is hearing it in May, because there's no way I'm getting this done tonight. Which is a good segue to May will be our final episode for about 2 months.
You should have let that just sit there for a minute.
A little. I thought about it. I was like, no. Yeah. So if you're not on our Discord and you're not on the Patreon, we're taking just a little pause while we welcome Baby on the Table Part 2. But we're gonna fill your ears with some side content. A little show called Deserted Island Dads, which is about deserted island games and playing games with family members and just all the shenanigans we may get up to. And so you can expect, 3 or 4 of those episodes to drop over June and July, and then I think
pick up again after Historic Fest.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Give a little Historic Fest recap, and we're in it,
where we will both be attending.
So happy to see that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, if I can guarantee one time I'll be able to play games between, after Baby's arrival, it is going to be Historic Fest.
Excellent.
And speaking of Historic Fest, the little tidbit of news we have is, so May 19th will be the May to June, the 3-month deadline out. And there are 2 giveaways that you have to be registered for to be eligible by May 19th. One is free barbecue. So, not Trader Joe's, Joe's Kansas City gift card.
I claim that one. Can I claim it? I'm the first one to say something.
You may claim it, but I don't know if your claim is effective.
Well, I can tell you, I'll be going there whether it's paid for with a gift card or not.
Now, your wife is coming this year, right?
She is, yeah.
Have you ever taken her to Joe's?
We've never been to well, I can't say that. We have been to Kansas City together, but it was, 25 years ago at least.
Yeah, and you took your daughters last year.
Yes, my youngest too. And this year it'll just be me and my wife. So yeah.
Nice. They just wrapped up having a Hawaiian Z-Man.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So
I didn't get a chance to have it.
Pork and pineapple, I'm assuming?
Yeah, on like a Hawaiian roll. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get another one of those Rocket Pigs for sure, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Nice. Rocket Pig Z-Man, you're set. Maybe a little burn-in action.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of burnt ends, nothing to do with the show, but I made burnt ends yesterday, and they were pretty freaking good. And I made them out of chuck roast instead of brisket. And, very happy with the way they turned out. So there is barbecue to be had here in St. Louis, as you found out yourself.
I did. It was very good. And that pains me as a Kansas Citian to say that St. Louis barbecue is good. But all props to Smoke and...
Salt and Smoke.
Salt and Smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had their burn-ins. I got some brisket, and they gave me a choice of fatty, lean, or burn-ins, and there's no choice.
Yeah, no choice.
It's burn-ins all the way.
Yeah. Sorry,
we do have another
I took
giveaway.
You off track, and you were talking
That's
about
right.
Historic Fest.
Yeah, so one of the best places to go in Kansas City, and I think one of the coolest sponsors we've gotten this year and the year before, and that's the World War I Museum and National Memorial. And so we're giving away 2 free passes to that.
Yeah.
That'll cover your admission, the World War I Memorial itself, the special exhibit. It does not cover war remains, but that's totally worth it, right, Rich?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you got to do that. I went last year. I did the museum and I did war remains, and both are highly recommended.
Nice. And like we said last year, if you go, whether you win the prizes or not, you should go. And then while you're in the area, if you have the time, you can do the Negro League Museum, you can do the Jazz Museum, or if you're short on time, just hop right across the street from the World War I Museum and just walk around Union Station. The renovation efforts from almost 20 years ago or so are just super impressive in Union Station. It's really cool.
Nice.
We do have a GMT update. They jumped the gun so fast this month. April 19th.
Yeah, they did jump the gun.
I wonder if they were trying to get it out before Weekend at the Warehouse instead of delaying it because of Weekend at the Warehouse.
Yeah, I
Because
guess could be.
that was last week as well.
But I mean, I think our show is more important than Weekend at the Warehouse, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure that people only get their GMT update from our. They get the email. They're on the email list, but like, no, I need Matt and Rich.
Yeah,
to tell me what's
they
going on
hold it until we can talk about it.
That's right. That's right. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, or maybe they're just upset because we didn't buy a bunch of GMT games this month.
I think I just had one. Almoravid. Almoravid was the only thing I was charged for this month.
Okay. Yeah. I did not get that one. So I got.
Yeah, you're holding out for the next Levian campaign, right?
Well, yeah, a couple. So I've got the Plantagenet and then the other English one. I can't remember if it's called. Is it called Henry? I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds right to me. Okay. Should we do the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't have any other news. So, games on the shelf. Light month, but we both have something to report.
Yeah, I don't know if you can really call it a game, but I did get the U.S. Civil War update kit. That was the only new thing I added this month. So, but yeah, definitely good. I mean, it comes with it's basically new rule books. I don't think there are any counters or anything. I can't remember offhand. But obviously it's a great game, and looking forward to checking out the updates to the rules I had already seen, at least in some degree, because they've got the living rules online. But the one thing I'm interested in seeing is what they did with the naval rules, because that is in there as well.
Yep, totally. Yeah, same for me. I got the update kit. I finally convinced myself I don't want to reclip this. And I don't really need it. So update kit's here as well. And then the other thing is a game that I saw a whole bunch of people raving about, and that's Tarawa 1943. This is a solo game. So the thought behind this is it looks easy enough to set up and probably play with one arm free while I'm holding a baby.
Yeah, sounds like a very timely game for you.
Yeah. So this is from Worthington Games. It's a Wiley Brothers game. It's from what I gather, it's hard as hell to win, and it's.
But I like that for a solo game. Solo games shouldn't be easy, I think, because you're not playing against another person. You're only playing against yourself, so they should be tough.
There you go. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's a little bit blocks are involved, but it's not. I don't know if you count as a block war game because.
Right.
I mean, it's
the
solo.
The pieces are blocks. It's not.
Right.
Sure.
And I guess the Japanese forces are masked, but there's no fog of war for you, obviously. Okay. So.
Yeah, anything that involves an amphibious invasion, I'm interested in. So I'd like to hear how this turns out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to... Worthington isn't... Sometimes they have great things, and then sometimes they don't. And I mean, they just
their games tend to be light, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when I think of Worthington, I think of light games. So, yeah,
Well, I don't disagree with you. They did have Band of Brothers and stuff, and that's a great tactical game. That's it for new stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Weird.
So we did some reading this month. Nothing I finished, but I did start A Frozen Hell by William Trotter, which is the Winter War.
How is it?
It's very good.
Okay.
It's I'm nearly done with it, so by the time we record next month, I'll probably be done with final thoughts on it. It clips along nicely. It does this I get why some nonfiction authors do this, but it does the almost kind of talking in third person from the narrator, the author's standpoint, in the middle of portraying the facts, and that kind of pulled me away from the story a little bit. But it's weird. The one thing I'll say is the similarities between what's going on in Ukraine today and what happened in the Winter War specifically is there's just a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
You have this underdog that kind of kicks Russia's ass.
Yeah, and now Finland is talking about joining NATO, so...
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know much about the Russo-Finnish War. I mean, obviously I know the absolute basics of it, but not really any details other than, you see the memes about Finnish snipers, so...
Right, right. I think this would be a really good one. It's under 300 pages, so
Okay.
a short read. It's big picture stuff. You're not I own more zoomed in and more detailed books on the Winter War or the Lapland War or the Continuation War. Pick your Finnish World War II conflict. But this one is just, I think, meant to be enjoyed and read, and it's light and it's good.
Yeah. And I know, kind of skipping ahead, but I know we're going to talk about one game later a little bit, but do you have a game about the Russo-Finnish War, the Winter War, that you love, that you're like crazy about?
Not yet.
Okay.
Because when I got into war games, one of the first things I started P500ing was the reprint of Red Winter.
Okay.
Like, it was shortly after that. I was like, ooh, that sounds awesome.
Still
Ski
P500?
I think it's over it, and like maybe we'll see it this year, hopefully.
Excellent.
But no, I don't have a Finnish, excluding ASL scenarios with Finns.
Sure.
I haven't found one that I love yet.
Okay.
What about you? Been reading anything?
I read a book called Six Frigates by Ian Toll. Ian Toll's the same guy that wrote like the Pacific Trilogy and some other books, but Six Frigates is about the early American Navy. So it's like after the American War, the American Revolution. It covers basically the creation of the American Navy from the time of the pseudo war with the French, the Barbary War, and the War of 1812, and basically just that. What's it, 20, 30 years, 20-ish years, something like that. And I will say, I would be surprised if this is not my book of the year. It was just fantastic. And if I read a better book than this year, I'm going to be over the moon.
Wow.
So great book. I would highly recommend it. It's got the background that you would want. It's got a little bit of political stuff in there. It's got the economics involved in the creation of the Navy. It's got some great battle stories and stories about the people that are involved in the war. And can't say enough about it. It's called Six Frigates by Ian W. Toll.
Nice.
And then I'm reading another book. You can tell I'm big into naval stuff right now, called Broadsides, The Age of Fighting Sail. This one is... I think I would like it more if I had not just read an amazing book. It's like reading a good book after a great book, where it's not bad, it's not great, it's decent. This one basically covers just sort of the age of fighting sail, American, French, and British navies all. It covers them all. It's sort of set against that. So the time period of this book is the life of Horatio Nelson, which I think is interesting because they keep coming back to him, but it's not about him, So obviously they cover battles and wars that he had nothing to do with at all, but he's always just sort of lurking in the background as he progresses through his career. So it's good. It's not great. I'm enjoying it, but it's not as good as Six Frigates. So
go with the Toll book.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I've already marked Six Frigates as to read, and since this is supposedly the year of naval wargaming,
it is, yeah.
then that seems appropriate. Did you do the audiobook?
Yes. Yep.
Of Six Frigates?
Yep.
Great narration.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it wasn't like, wow, this is fantastic, over the moon, but there was nothing to take away from it at all, so it was good. When I mean, there's no negatives about the narration at all.
Okay.
It was good.
All right. Well, you and I had a busy month. We had lots of games to talk about. Most of mine are a recap of Advanced After Combat's Donkey Con, which is a convention geared towards playing monster games. But I played a lot of other stuff while I was there first, and we got a lot to get to, so I think we should just
jump right into it. I couldn't go to Donkey Con this year because I had to work, but I did get to go visit a little bit, which was nice.
And play. You played a little bit.
I did, yeah. I got to play a little bit, so.
So, the full name of this game is Arcola, The Battle for Italy, 1796. And so I think if you just grab the box, it's just called The Battle for Italy. Interestingly enough, this is an early Kevin Zucker design from 1979. It's published by Avalon Hill. It has some... So this covers the French versus Habsburgs? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would have to be. It would be the French versus Habsburgs if it's 1796. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes more sense. Yeah. And so it's very light. You have very few counters on the board. Like each side has, maybe 5 counters on the map, and it's very much a game about maneuvering, using road movement to your advantage to either exit off the map as the Austrians, who have a very low chance of actually activating, or holding one city before the French can, either if the French leave the city and you take it from them, or if they come and drive you out of Verona. Very small map, very quick playing. I think if you, like on BGG, it's like $10. It's probably worth that. The downside is it's roll to move, which we know can work in GCACW. But this is like, it's not roll to move, it's roll to activate.
Okay.
And the Austrians' rolls for activation are like, they can get 1 free activation on their turn, but everything else is like, I think you have 1 3 and then 2s and 1s.
Mm-hmm.
And so you move on your turn, then your opponent moves, then it's your opponent's turn, and then you get a reaction movement. And you don't get your free move on the reaction movement, and it felt a little bad. I just kept rolling like 6, 6, 6, 6, and I lost a lot of activations in the first round. And then we played again right away, and I was able to get the activations, and I maneuvered around my opponent, and like I was ready to step off the map. I was like, well, let's do it another way. I like pulled my guys back on the map and fought out a little bit, just to like see it play out more.
Mm-hmm.
Look, for $10, the game's fine, but you're getting what you pay for here.
Yeah, so how'd this one come up? Because, I've never even heard of this game before.
Yeah, I guess our buddy Paul had it,
okay,
and he just brought it with it. And I think even like punched it while we were there.
Okay, and it's a quick game, I assume?
Yeah, super quick. I mean, BGG listed as an hour and a half or an hour. And it's way faster than that, I think, especially once you know it. There's no real rule ambiguities or anything like that. It's just, it's designed in 1979. So
interesting.
I mean, like if I saw it somewhere, like if I was at a con or something, someone had a used table, I'd do it because it's a small box. That's the other thing. It won't take up any space on the shelf, and then on the table, it's like 12 by 8 or something, like 14 by 8 or something. It's small.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the Battle for Italy. Pretty good.
All right. At our monthly game day this month, I guess it's still April, we played Thunder at Dawn, which is the Revolution games. So we've talked about Thunder in the Ozarks. It's in that same series of games from Revolution Games. This one is the Battle of Wilson's Creek. This one just came out last year, and I picked it up as soon as it came out because obviously it's a battle that took place here in Missouri, and I was interested. Really, really good addition to the series. I think I like it even better than the Pea Ridge game. It's a smaller footprint. So the Pea Ridge game is great. Nothing wrong with it at all. But it's a 2-mapper, and it almost feels like 2 battles going on side by side at the same time, which is accurate to the history. Thunder at Dawn is it's just a 1-map game. Fewer number of counters. The thing I like about it, though, is the scale is a little different, and the artillery has a much longer range. So you can realistically get artillery shots at, I don't remember exactly, but I want to see something like 6-8 hexes. So it's much longer sight lines. There's places you can get your artillery up, and I just enjoyed it quite a bit. It's only got 3 scenarios in there, but the 3 scenarios that are in the game are really cool because one is the historical scenario. It's basically, this is how it happened. The second one was General Lyon's initial plan before his, colonels or whoever talked him out of it. And then the third one is just a free setup. The defenders are here. You can attack from any direction you want. So fun game. I like playing it a lot. This one's definitely going to get played again. Maybe in Wilson's Creek next year.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Nice. So have you played Upfront?
I have not. I've seen it played. There's a guy that brings it to our monthly game day like almost every month, and I think they did play it this month, but I've never played it.
So there's a 2-player submarine naval game called Attack Sub that shares a lot of similarities, and I was able to play this at DonkeyCon, and it's fun. It's like you pick your ships, you get like a scenario. And I did both like submarine on submarine, and then I did surface ships versus submarines. And you're dealt a hand of cards based on the number of ships you have, and you can get some cool things like increase your hand size, and basically you play one card for each ship, and maybe you're running sonar, either active or passive, to ping your opponent to get a locate them, or once you have enough location markers on them, maybe you're dropping a torpedo, or maybe you're trying to close the distance or spread out to lose those markers, and you're just playing cards back and forth. This ship's doing this ship's doing this.
So
and
is it kind of like Tank Duel, where you have cards but no real map?
Right,
okay.
Right. And so you don't track distance so much as you just track contact with your sonar, or when you open or close distance, that removes those contact markers, or it bumps them down a scale. So It's even less so than Tank Duel. And then let's say you're going to attack. You have ratings on all your ships. They're different. You flip over the card. You're looking to beat that number in some way. I don't remember if you're going higher or lower. I think you're going lower. And you just flip over the card, you look at the number and see what happens. And then if you hit, let's say I hit you with a torpedo, I flip it over again, and that tells me where I hit you. And most of the times if you score a hit, they're going down, but like you can get bigger ships that can withstand more hits, or their like targeting can lose effectiveness, or attacks can lose effectiveness. I think it's fun as like a quick game, like, hey, let's do a short scenario for 30 minutes. Braxton was telling me like you can really spread out in this game, and I don't know if that would be quite as fun.
Spread out meaning like more subs?
Yeah, like if I had I don't know how big it goes, but if I had 10 ships, I think this maybe overstays its welcome. It's better than modern naval battles, and that's that Navy game we played last year at Historic Fest. They're very similar.
Okay.
I like this more, though.
Okay, cool.
That's a tax sub. It's an old Avalon Hill game from the 90s.
Excellent. Another game I played, actually played this at Donkey Con when I came up just for the evening, played Arracourt, which I think I talked about playing that last month as well. Solitaire, but this time I played it against someone. This is the latest game in MMP's BCS series. It's a late war battle in France between the Americans and the Germans. The big difference between this one and the other BCS games is the scale of the game. So this is a one map game. The counters and the hexes are bigger, so they're, I guess, 3/4 inch instead of 1/2 inch. They're definitely bigger. And the whole game is it's much more compressed because it's all on one map. Not as many formations. The formations that are there tend to be smaller, although the Germans have a couple big ones. It's a good game. It's a great BCS game. If you are interested in learning BCS, I would highly suggest you get this one as your first one, just because it's easier to jump into. The Americans actually start out in a pretty interesting position where one of their cav groups is completely overextended, and the Germans can sweep in and cut them off pretty quickly. And then you're fighting for, basically there's 3 towns that are victory hexes, and then the 4th victory point that's awarded every turn is for whoever has lost the least number of armor units. So it's BCS Arracourt, and it's really good. I'm going to play that some more for sure.
Nice. Well, another new game I got to play was Plains Indian Wars from GMT Games. Rich, I've talked about 1754 Conquest and gladly recommend it. Okay, similar type of game. Actually, I think Plains Indian Wars is intended to be some kind of redesign or another designer's own take on the Birth of America series. I think 1754 is the best in the Birth of America series, and so Plains Indian War, just like those Academy games, are cube games. Your forces are cubes on a map, and you move area to area, and you select a card, and that's going to tell you how many groups of cubes you can move and how far you can move them. And then also this game has the Transcontinental Railroad, so the railroad runs across the Midwest, and you either play settlers, cavalry, Northern Plains Indians, Southern Plains Indians, and then you activate the railroad. And even better yet, it takes place largely in Kansas. So, like, pretty cool sounding game, right? Like Cavalry, Plains Indian Wars, a fresh take on that. It can play 4 players. Turn activation is different. It's set in the Midwest, and it's trains and war games. Like, that all sounds great, right?
Sounds fantastic. How about you loved it?
Yeah, it was a big whiff, and it's really hard for me to put my finger on this because I identify what, like, the space that 1754 resides in is great. It's a light war game. You can play it with 4 people. You can play it with 2 people. It's got interesting turn activation and game end mechanics. And this just, like, never felt as satisfying. They both are, you push all your cubes into an area and you roll until someone's dead or you reach a peace treaty. And so you can, like, gear up for this big combat and, like, I push all my cubes and you push all your cubes in, or we're both ready to fight and then we both roll a treaty and then it's done. And we don't actually get to fight.
Yeah.
And thematically, yeah, okay, I can buy that, but it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And I don't really like it.
Yeah. Well, it's disappointing from your perspective. From my perspective, we talked about this when all the GMT games came a couple months ago, and I listed this as one of the ones that I kind of wished I had pre-ordered. So no, I'm glad that I hadn't.
Look, if I had a kid in middle school or something like that, this is fine. Like, this is 1 or 2 steps above Risk. It's got this cool thematic, but even half the train stuff doesn't work because to advance from the West Coast, you're just rolling dice, and you need to get 2 hits on the dice when you roll. And if you don't, they don't advance, and you can't do anything with the people in the West until you get over the mountains. And so you roll and nothing happens, and you roll and nothing happens. And yeah, sure, eventually you can get enough settlers from the East to have the train come in from the East. But by that point, the game's probably over. If you have settlers that far west, it got to this weird point where, like, the game board was scarce.
Yeah. And it sounds like there's other games you'd rather play in its place anyway, like 1754.
Right. And that's,
so
if I was going to recommend something to this, and if someone was interested in this, I would honestly just tell them to look at the 1754 titles.
Yeah. I do have a question, though. Have you played Bleeding Kansas?
I've not.
Okay, because I think it's the same designer. And I'm curious about that, because that was one that, I don't know, I've got a friend that played Bleeding Kansas, and he seemed to enjoy it, but it never looked that interesting to me. So from what you're saying about this and that, it sounds like they have some similarities as well, as far as the movement of cubes, at least.
Yeah, and I'm not even like, I know, we got some rads in for playing a cube game, and that's none of what I dislike. Well, I mean, it's not a cube
game. It has cubes as pieces, but yeah.
That is the least important thing to me when it comes to, if you're represented by cubes or whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
The bigger issue here is, for some reason, this game checked so many right boxes and didn't have the same interesting game end mechanic. The game ends either when the railroad's done or when people are done playing cards. There's no, like, early termination. And then I don't know. It just fell flat, which is too bad, because it could have been a really cool introductory war game.
Okay. That might be one to put on the list at the end of the year for you.
Yeah, right, cuz I will not be holding on to this.
I'm not going to talk about it too much because I've talked about it a lot recently, but I'm still playing Vietnam 65 to 75. It's still fantastic. I'm taking a couple weeks off just because of work, but hopefully when we get back into it, not this Monday, but the Monday after, hopefully we're going to start playing some of the more extended campaign stuff as well, and I'll start playing around with that. But I will say this game is so good, even if all you play is the operational scenarios. That Masher White Wing scenario is like the perfect evening game. I mean, it takes 3 hours to play, maybe 2 if you both really know the rules well. And it's just, there's so many decisions to make. It's brutal. The victory conditions are brutally hard for the Allies to win that game, but it doesn't matter. It's just fun. So Vietnam 65 to 75, go play it.
If you want to hear more about that game, make sure you keep an eye open for June for the first episode of Dad's on a Map, because that game got, Dad's on a Map is, if you want to hear, Just take that again. That's a completely other podcast. You know what? Maybe I'll leave it in there. You can keep an eye out for the June episode of Dabs on the Map.
Go.
But
Herald
yeah,
on Games.
Right. You will miss the Vietnam 1975 discussion because it'll be in deserted island dads. Holy shit. I'm leaving this all in there. I'm not taking it out. Where that game got a lot of talk, and even our guest said that without playing the campaign stuff, just the operational stuff, make it one of the best war games ever designed.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone was asking me recently, I don't remember if it was on Discord or somewhere else, but like if we don't play the campaign stuff, is this game worth it? Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
So like I last year I did some YouTube videos about like painting, talking about Warhammer and stuff, and I finally had a chance to play at least some Warhammer. I played Warhammer 40K Kill Team.
Nice.
Which is the tactical version of Warhammer. It was a blast. It was
is that
so
on a
cool.
3x3 board then? Or is it, how big's the...
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, it was a little square
it's the
board.
smaller one. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It is. What's interesting, and I won't spend a whole lot of time on this because we're not a minis-based podcast or anything like that. Well, the reason I wanted to talk about it is it's so interesting to like... There are a lot of parallels between this and ASL or Band of Brothers or ATS, pick your poison. Obviously they're different with, line of sight rules and all this other stuff, but there are some similarities between tactical hex encounter and tactical mini games. And I just thought that was cool. A really fun. Had a blast playing it. Some really cool like thematic rules with different factions, and you can do like ongoing kind of like storylines and develop your kill team and have permanent death and really get some cool creative missions. And that's really appealing to me.
Cool.
So here's a historical game that we played at Donkey Kong. It's called The King is Dead. Mm-hmm. And so you have the Welsh, Scottish, and English all vying for control of England. And it's kind of there's 8 regions on the map. And each player also has 8 action cards. Those action cards can all be played, in the first round of the game. But each round, you're going to score a different region of England. And
so is this historical? I thought this was a fantasy game.
No. The King is Dead?
Yeah.
No. This is, it's historical, but it's political cubes on a map.
Okay. All right, cool. For some reason, I was thinking, I've never played this one. For some reason, I always thought this was a fantasy game. But go for it. Sorry.
No. And I even calling it a historical game. It's really a area domination game with cubes.
Okay.
And so like the red cubes are England. And so if red's dominant in this area, red will take it over. If red and yellow are tied, the French are going to sweep in and claim that territory. And at the end of the game, if the English have claimed the most territories and Rich, you have the most English cubes, you win the game.
Okay.
If we're tied on English cubes, then we look to see who's second. And even if you have 4 English cubes and I have 4 English cubes and I have 1 Scottish cube and Scotland's in second, then I'll win the game. And then you have a whole bunch of Wales, and Wales is in third place, doesn't matter. If the French get 3 strongholds in England, then it's a different type of, you look at the cubes in a different manner to see who wins the game. You will take 8 actions, period, whether you do it all in the first round or you do it spread throughout the game over the course of the game. You have 8 cards, and it's how you manipulate the cubes on the map and which cubes you draft to kind of win this area majority game. It's very fun. It's very light, like super, super duper light game. Maybe plays in 20-30 minutes with a lot of room for just like decision making. No real engagement or anything, but just like manipulating the board is really interesting.
I like that finite 8 actions. It's kind of like, I don't remember which 18xx game it is, but there's a one that always goes 10 rounds and that's it.
Right. And this is like, you can take those 8 actions spread throughout. You can save them up to the end. You can go for like, all right, I'm going for it, and here I go. First turn, go crazy, knock yourself out. I don't know if it's a good idea. So this is, it's The King is Dead. We played the 2nd edition from Osprey Games.
Cool.
Very good.
Nice.
We played Dune.
Yeah.
Not Dune Imperium, but Dune. I don't know if it was good. It lived up to every expectation I had. I'd played a couple rounds in
Seemed
the
like
past.
you guys were having a good time.
Yeah. I think it would Dune rewards continuous play. One, to learn like in developed metas, to learn how factions interact with each other, and then also like ratchet down on game length.
Okay. So I have a question about Dune, actually. I noticed you guys had alliances going.
Uh-huh.
Are the alliances preset like at the beginning of the game, or is it totally player created?
Completely player driven,
Okay,
and
cool.
they can only happen at certain times.
Okay.
And you can only break them at certain times.
Okay, cool. Because it seemed like, and maybe it's just the way the game's set up. I mean, I only saw the movie for the first time a few weeks ago. That's the first time I've ever seen anything Dune. But I'm like, oh, the Emperor and the the Harkonnens are aligning.
Yep.
That makes sense, just so. And there was another alliance. I can't remember who it was. But like, oh yeah, you guys are just like in the movie. So I didn't know if they were preset or not.
Yep, no, completely player driven. And what's interesting about Dune, and I think it just speaks to the quality of Dune, is each faction has their own mechanics, but this is just another game of mechanically simple but deep in player negotiation and politics. And even the game win conditions are relatively straightforward. Sure, you get some factions can win with alternate win conditions that are thematic, but generally speaking, if you're not in an alliance, you win by controlling 3 strongholds. If you're in an alliance, you need 4. And battle is just you commit your troops, and whoever you commit, if you win, are going to die. If I send 8 guys and you send 0 guys and I win, all 8 of my guys are dead. If you are the loser, you lose all of you guys as well. And that's like kind of combat. But there's all this like you can buy and sell information. You can cut deals for whatever, and that's where the beauty of Dune comes in. It was a lot of fun to finally get a full play of this in. I could see this being like a regular convention occurrence wherever I go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play that one sometime. Mitch and I were just talking about it today, actually.
Nice. So the last game, we're gonna double dip this month because I unfortunately really have no desire to like ever revisit this game, and if we don't do it now, then we won't ever do it. So we're going to rank it.
Yeah.
And I want it.
And we talked about it. A game this big, I'm probably not going to play this one, so it makes perfect sense for us to throw this on the list now.
Right. I would not encourage you to play this. So the game we're talking about is the Second World War Hakkaa. And the very, very short of this game is completely and unremarkably just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is, I mean, to say a game is just fine is not terrible, but when you're talking about a game that's this big and this intricate, it's like, why are they doing all this for? The juice is not worth the squeeze on this one, from what it sounds like.
That is what everyone has asked me, and the best thing I've been able to say is like, you have an industrial juicer for a juice shop, and you threw 1 lemon in there for your tiki cocktail, and you need 1 ounce of lemon juice. Like, that's kind of what's going on here. Here's my bigger problem with it just being fine. I'm fine if the rules are complex and like kind of a mess. We have games on the list that are good with messy rules. The bigger issue is the cost of this game.
Sure, yeah.
And you know what?
And how many TSW games are there?
Okay, so there are several. And so I learned when I was playing this that this is a continuation of the Europa series.
Okay.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7 games in one of the bundles.
Okay.
And I'm not going to dig in too deep to it, but there's several of them. And so if you're unfamiliar with the series, it's produced by the Knowledge Company, and they're out of England, and they're very expensive games. They don't have the best production quality. Again, those aren't things I care about that much, other than that the cost is so high. And so this is a supply-driven game. And the cool thing you can do is I can take Hakkaa and combine that with Operation Barbarossa, and there's mechanics built in for those games to interact, and you can make this massive World War II game, and it's supposed to be this World War II sandbox. In Hakkaa, Germany can invade Sweden, and Sweden and U.S. can get involved in the defense of Finland, and your Finland game directly impacts when Barbarossa kicks off. That's the selling point, is this is World War II in a sandbox with way more combat detail than something like Axis Empires. That's why I was interested in this.
Sure.
And as well as it being Finland.
16 games in the series, by the way. I just looked it
Thank
up.
you.
Wow.
It's the biggest problem, I think, is the extra rules, like, and I guess supply isn't really an extra rule, but any of the cool stuff or any of the more detail we wanted to get into, the rules were not good. Like, it was really hard to parse them out. And, like, I'm not an expert at things, but generally speaking, like, I was playing with Paul, and Paul's a guy that's played a lot of war games. I've played a lot of war games, and we were both just, like, bashing our heads against the supply rules, and they never really clicked.
Yeah. Sounds like you had some map issues, too. I remember you and Paul were talking, you fell back, and you're like, oh, there's no fortifications there, or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah. It was just, the maps aren't, one, they aren't very exciting.
Yeah.
And then two, good luck reading the numbers when you're playing on the table. And three, the hex size doesn't, like, stacking points are like 46 stacking points. So you can have massive stacks in a hex, and the hexes are about the width of your counters.
Yeah.
And they're small.
Yeah, and you had some offboard for stacking too, didn't you? Because I remember when I first walked up to your game, it was offboard, so this wasn't actually on the map, but you had a stack of counters at least 15 high.
Yeah. Yep, totally. And then, so we go through all this process, like, we set up all these ships, and we have these coastal defenses, and, like, yeah, the detail's there, but in the end, it really didn't matter. And where combat started out really interesting, like, combat started as a strong point, but then I really quickly saw its downside, and I'll make this quick, but essentially you have three different type of combat units: mechanized, cav, non-mechanized. Okay, they each have hex and weather and hex side modifications that can impact them. This game uses multiplication. So if you're coming in with, infantry, and you're attacking across the river, and you have your national combat effectiveness of 1.4, so let's say you're attacking with 8, you're going to multiply 8 by 1.4, then you're going to consider the hex side, then you're going to consider the terrain. So maybe it's 8 times 1.4 times 0.75 times 0.5. That's your final number.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I actually really like that at first. And then the problem is you have to do that for all three types of those units in the hex you're attacking with. And if you're attacking from multiple hexes, it's different calculations for each hex depending on the type of hex side they're crossing. And at that point, it's too much to be like, okay, this group in my stack is 36 combat factors. All right, let me do the math over here. This group is 12. And I liked that at first, and then I just realized, like, this is losing its luster really quickly.
Yeah.
I don't want to, again, fine hex encounter war game. What really, the best thing about this game is the amount of research that goes into these games. It just comes through. Like, I was reading A Frozen Hell while playing this game. Mm-hmm. Like, I started it in anticipation of this game, and it captured fighting on the Finnish front, like, wonderfully. It played out as I expected. Like, I got my teeth kicked in, and so the Russians were able to do much better than they did historically. But the game seemed to play out as history intended, or as history played out, I should say.
Yeah.
So the research is there. The problem, I just think this is another, like, for a game of this scale and cost, it could really use some more development, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pay that much money and put that much time into learning a game, it's got to be worth it.
And I don't know if it is. You know what my honest takeaway was? Just play OCS.
Yeah, yeah.
Because similar scale, similar supply rules. So basically the supply in TSWW, much like OCS, you basically have trace supply, and then you also have to move in supply and eat that down to pay for, like, combat effectiveness. You don't have to do that each time you do something, just kind of for the turn. Like, all right, they're good. They have full attack capabilities.
Yeah. I guess one of the positives, and there's lots of OCS games out there, but if you are looking for some specific theater, this might be, because there's 16 of these out there. I was just sort of browsing through the list. There's a lot of stuff in here that, you may not be able to find in other places. So it looks like there's Madagascar. I can't think of another World War II Madagascar game. There's Invasion of Crete, which there are other games, but that's a cool battle to model. So I could see if you're into this because you're looking for something specific, which is probably what you were doing for Finland.
Yep, exactly. And so when I got this game, they were running a sale, and I also got Operation Recur, which that's the Crete game.
Sure.
I guess after all of this, if you're like, hey, I wanna like, what's this guy talking about? The nice thing there is that's a smaller rule set, and it's also like a much, much cheaper game for Operation Recur. So if you really want to try this out, you can. And look, I was hard on it.
This game, Barbarossa.
That's the other thing. Like, yeah, okay, this sounds awesome.
That's like Campaign for North Africa right there. You're never going to play that game.
Exactly. And that's where that's what our buddy Paul said is like, cool, you can plug this in with the rest of World War II.
Right.
But like, do you have a gym that like you can access, So again, I'm bashing on it somewhat. It's not as bad as maybe I'm bashing it. It's just a fine war game. Paul had sent us an email, and we were talking about, he wanted to talk about the isolation rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think this game models forming pockets pretty well, whether they're completely in isolation or they have like a really extended supply line. And so it's the one kind of interesting, I think, was like it was increasing degrees of severity, almost like increasing degrees of fatigue in GCACW, but different than that. And so you can be isolation 1, isolation 2, or you can be like completely cut off 1, 2, 3, 4, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And that's he formed a pocket around a huge chunk of my fins, and twice I had to fight out. And eventually, the second time I fought out, I then trapped my main Finnish forces north of his main thrust, and he was able to then hold those guys and then sweep in to the west and move towards Helsinki, while the rest of my army was kind of stuck in east middle Finland. Mm-hmm. And so there were some really cool stuff here. The air combat wasn't what I wanted it to be. You just kind of went in and did the thing, and even if you won the air, like if there was escorts, that's kind of it. And you didn't really make much progress in the air. So there were some good things like the isolation, a good idea for combat, movement and stuff like that was all fine, but there was also some real stinkers. But
yeah,
there you go. Whew. I feel like
Do you want to rate it now or rate it later?
Yeah, let's just get it out of the way.
All right.
So fine games. I'm thinking in the terms of like Angola, Bloody April, Hold Fast Korea, right? So we're looking at the like high 30s, low 40s of the list.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that this I don't want to spend too much time on this. Angola's better. Bloody April is probably like I'd rather give Bloody April another chance than this. Hold Fast Korea is just kind of it's a game. It's a block game, and you kind of maneuver. It's fine. I think that's where it goes.
Sounds good to me. I'm not going to argue since I haven't played it. I am going to say, though, in regards to Bloody April, I'm probably going to play that sometime in the next couple months. So I will either agree with you, or maybe that will be a candidate for end of the year move.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not confident, but... So that's TSWW Hakkaa Päälle.
Got it.
And that's going to...
Number 40.
Number 40, just about... I think it's better than Hold Fast Korea in terms of design. Like, it's a labor of love. Like, it's a cool thing that they've put so much time and effort into this. But then, like, they just need someone to, like, put the map key... And I get why you don't put the map key on the map, because then you're going to put all the maps together. But, like, not many people are going to spend... £2,000 to buy every game that you've come out with, so just put the map key on the map so I don't have to flip through. There were 30 charts, Rich, and they would have like one tiny line of information.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it ended up being like a chart we'd have to keep going back to, but then you got to flip through 25 charts.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
way too many
somebody's
charts.
going to do this as a con game, and they're going to play it for 2 days and never touch it again. But other than that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad. I do really like the organization. The people I've dealt with from the Knowledge Company and the people behind TSWW are great. Mad props to them. I hope they keep doing this and putting effort into this, but I really think that they should get just some more like development to turn this into a mainstream game, because right now it's really niche.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if they could take what they have and try to make a small game out of it, kind of like what Goss did in Hanut 40.
Yeah, well, that they have Operation Recur. That's the smaller rule set. They've tried. I don't know if it's any good. I'm not gonna look into it. I have it, but I'm not gonna keep it.
All right. So anybody wants to buy Hakkaa, I know where you can get a copy.
Yeah, Hakkaa, Operation Recur, or their free tactical game that came with it, Foxhole, which I was excited about trying, but so those may shift to the Swordfest prize pool. All right, before we play a game, we have a giveaway.
That's right, we do. And to be honest, I don't remember how we decided we were going to do the giveaway.
Yeah,
so we were talking about it.
That's okay. I, fortunately for both of us, remember. So I had talked about Battle Above the Clouds, and Casey, a listener, sent me a copy of Battle Above the Clouds, and I said, wow, that's really generous. That's super kind of you. Let me return the favor, and Hood Strikes North, which I think to be as a good introductory GCACW game, let me get that to someone. I've played my copy. Let me share the love. So that's how we ended up with a giveaway. And then the giveaway rules were on our Twitter page, and then in our Discord group. You had to be a member of our Discord to be eligible for the giveaway.
Yeah.
And then you had to
Discord's
take
been
a
growing.
feedback poll.
We're getting new members. It's good.
Yeah. All right. You have not seen this list, correct, Rich?
Correct.
All right. You can either do a random die roll random number generator, or you may pick a number between 1 and 30.
1 and 30?
Yeah.
I know what number I'm going to pick. I should do it randomly instead, though.
Okay.
All right.
You haven't seen the list, though. I don't want to.
I haven't seen it, but I would pick 14 for sure. So, but I'm gonna Google random number 1 to 30.
Yep.
And that number is 28.
28.
Yep.
Salty Wendigo.
Hey, Caleb.
Congrats, Caleb. We'll be in contact. I think Caleb told me his room was booked at a Storkfest.
Oh, nice.
So if he wants to pick it up locally, I can hold it for him, or we'll be in contact for Caleb to grab your copy of Hood Strikes North. So congrats, Caleb. I can't remember if Caleb's played GCACW before or not.
I don't know. I don't remember talking to him about it, but who knows? Yeah. Congrats.
Awesome. Well, there's our giveaway. Rich.
Oh, no. I dread this time. Can I just take the 9? No, I want to play. I actually do enjoy it.
Rich, I have terrible news.
Do you not have a game for the Wargame Game?
I don't have a game.
Oh, no.
And usually I'll sit down 15 minutes 15 minutes before we record, and I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot to do a game. But I was so excited to record it. I had messaged you. I said, hey, I just got home. I just need to relax a little bit.
So here's what we do. We cut all this out, and I'm going to get it on the first guest this time. Is it Submarine?
Is Submarine a game?
Yeah, it's a game. It's an old Avalon Guild game. I was thinking about it because you're talking about attack sub.
That's not what I was thinking.
Oh, man. I can't even get it when I cheat.
Okay, you know what? Here, we can do this. I just won't have the list to keep it. I'm confident we can do this. Okay. All right. So, I have my game.
Okay. Well, it's
ready?
Not Submarine, I'm assuming.
That'd be funny. There was a second Submarine that popped up, and that'd be really messed up to make you go for that. All right, folks. This is a live Wargame game. I mean, it's always live, but at least I have my cues lined up. Okay, so you may get 10 clues, you may get less. What's your free guess?
I'm looking at my games. To take Washington.
No.
All right.
This is a 1992 game.
Yeah, I figured it had to be something older. 1992. I'd just gotten out of high school. I wasn't playing war games then. I don't know. I can't name it. It's something from Great Samurai from Great Battles History. I don't know.
Nope.
Okay.
Very, very far off, I'll add. This is an operation scale involving both air-ish, and land operations.
Operational scale. Air-ish and land. Well, my next guess was going to be Knights of the Air, but I don't think that's it. Go on. I can't think of one.
This game was published by FASA Games.
FASA.
Yeah, the original acronym for FASA was Fredonian Aeronautics and Space Administration.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
they changed it to FASA.
You're killing me here. Buffalo Wings. It's not that, but
Nope.
no.
Next clue would be these are... Actually, I'm going to pull that cue back because I don't know if that's actually accurate. Okay, this is a sci-fi game.
Oh, okay. A sci-fi game. You know, it's funny because I was trying to think of some sci-fi games. I figured we were due for one of these at some point. What's the one that has the different... I see... it's not it, but I'll say Federation and Empire.
Nice. No. So I alluded to that was an operational scale, and so operational sci-fi that simulates an entire planetary invasion.
Makes sense if it's sci-fi.
Which ties into the both air and ground actions, whereas air really means space here.
I'm quickly fearing that this is going to be a game I haven't heard of. But I'm going to start. I'll continue to guess games I have heard. What is the one? Oh, I know it comes in multiple parts. It's a sci-fi game. I see it on Facebook. I can't think of the name of it. Keep going.
Okay. Let's see. How many cues have 92 operational FASA sci-fi planetary. So you've had
Down to 5. All right.
Okay. The designers are Carl Heisterman and Sam Lewis.
Never heard of them. Let's go ahead and go to 6. That's 6.
No, that was 6. This is part of FASA's Renegade Legion series.
Okay, so Renegade Legion is the game I was trying to think of.
Yeah, I thought you might be.
Yeah. This is part of that series, but
so we're at 7 clues.
Renegade Legion is the game as far as I'm... Oh, gosh.
No. So you have a 1 in 5 chance? I think there's 5 Renegade Legion titles.
I'm not going to get this. Because I don't know that... I mean, I know that this Renegade Legion exists. That's the one I was trying to think of. But the individual titles in that series... I'm just going to start making up words. Renegade Planetary.
You know what? There's way more. There are 19 Renegade Legion
oh my
titles.
gosh.
You are wrong. There are 5 that this game can integrate with into a bigger game. I tell you what. You're on clue 8 now. If you give me one Renegade Legion title, I'll say you got it. If not, we'll have to rhyme.
All right. Renegade Interstellar.
Wow, close.
No.
Renegade Legion Interceptor is one.
Oh, okay.
All right. The rhyme is Renegade Legion rhymes with Trefect.
Renegade Legion. Well, if it's Legion, I'm going to stick with the Roman theme. Prefect.
You got
there
it.
we
You
go.
This game was... I saw Mitch play it one time.
Yeah, so that's how I know about it, because Mitch has, like, added me to groups on Facebook about it. And I've never played it. And actually, I think Adam has played this one, too.
You guys have definitely talked about it on the show before. Yeah, we have,
but I've never played it, and I couldn't even remember the name of the series. They look interesting. I knew they were interconnected, but I know next to nothing about them, as is obvious now.
Nice. Well, for an impromptu decision,
it is funny though, because I kind of had a feeling that we had something sci-fi coming for some reason. So
yeah. Well,
let's see. Okay, Renegade Legion Prefect.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna look that.
And that's the one I looked over on my game shelf, and I saw like Second Fleet and Gunslinger, and I thought, no, that's too easy. And then Renegade Legion Prefect popped out.
All right.
Whew. All right. Well, that was the Wargame game. That was the Wargame game, the game of war games.
Wow. And I know Mitch is going to beat me on that one, because he actually plays and enjoys these games.
Yeah, I imagine he'll get that one pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Let us know how you did, and we'll give you a star.
Yeah.
All right. I'm really excited for this. We've not many great games for me. I know I played a lot. Dune was probably the best off that list. Or maybe definitely the best. Kill Team was really fun. For you had a lot of great games. But here is a great game that we picked as voted on by our patrons for April.
Yeah.
NATO Air Commander is our featured game this month. Designed by Brad Smith, published by Hollandspiel from 2018. This is a solitaire game.
Yeah, we had a discussion on Discord a couple months ago about solitaire games, and basically I think someone sort of said, hey, you guys need to include some more, and we were talking about the difference between games like Zeppelin Raider and games like Pavlov's House, where, you get to make interesting decisions rather than just sort of roll some dice and see what happens. This is definitely a make interesting decisions game.
Yes, and not a whole lot of background to go in here, just because it's a hypothetical game. So this is Cold War gone hot. The Warsaw Pact has invaded Central Europe, and you are the commander of Allied air forces attempting to assist ground assaults, as well as like take out strategic targets and that type of thing. Broad picture here, and then I'm going to let you maybe give some more detail, is, to me, like, if I'm looking at this from the cockpit, like way zoomed out, it feels obviously very much like a States of Siege system.
Sure. Absolutely looks like one. I mean, you've got 6 lines that the enemy is coming in on, and your job is to prevent the enemy from coming in on those 6 lines. At first glance, it definitely looks that way. I think I've played... I guess I've only really played one States of Siege game. I played Autumn and Sunset, and this is in a whole different league from that.
Oh, I think in terms of quality, absolutely.
But it does resemble it, yeah.
It plays like a state. I mean, you have 6 advancing tracks.
Right.
And so, but keep going.
So I mean, the basics of the game are, like you said, you are the air commander of NATO. The Warsaw Pact is advancing on 6 tracks. It's literally Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, and Foxtrot tracks. And they're slightly different lengths. I think most of them are 4 and a couple of them are 3. Once they get to the end of the track, there's basically nothing else you can do. They're just going to accumulate victory points, and you can't do anything else about it anymore. But along the way, before you get to that point, you've got a group of aircraft of different types. And the silhouettes, they never really say what they are, but from the silhouettes you can see you've got A-10s and Tornadoes and F-16s and F-15s. And, if you know aircraft, you'll recognize the silhouettes, and you can see the stats basically meet up with them. You've got one stealth bomber, or not stealth bomber, but a stealth fighter, which I think is cool. And your job is basically just to put together air packages to try to slow their advance, as well as, like you said, attacking their overall air defenses and their overall ground defenses, and sometimes even attacking their headquarters. The only way you're going to win this game is to get their air defenses and ground defenses pulverized. Otherwise, the game will just be too hard, because every time you put together an air package, basically you can put together as few as 1, which you can do with the stealth fighter. But usually you're going to put 5 planes in the package, and you've got some number of them attacking the actual target, some providing air support, air cover, and some providing suppression of the enemy air defenses, so like, taking out their surface to air missiles and stuff like that. And you're going to draw cards for resolutions, basically depending on what part of the raid you're in. And the cards, there are no dice in the game. The whole thing is a deck of cards. And the same deck of cards, if you've played Fields of Fire, it kind of looks like that, or Pavlov's House, where the cards have different things on them. No, Pavlov's House is different, but Fields of Fire is definitely like this, where the same card will, depending on what you're using it for, have different numbers that mean different things. And basically, if you don't have enough air power to overcome that card's air defenses, the whole mission fails. If you don't have enough ground attack to cover that mission's ground defenses, then the whole mission fails. Then finally you can put hits on the target. Additionally, you've got your commanders giving you missions, up to 2 missions every turn, basically saying, hey, I need you to hit Charlie twice this turn, or I need you to do 7 total hits this turn. And basically those things will give you some nice bonuses if you succeed in them, and will also give you resource points that you can use to mostly buy precision guided munitions, which is what I spent all of my resource points on all the time, because a PGM will basically double your aircraft's value. So that's the basics of the game. The game is going to play out over up to 10 rounds. If the Warsaw Pact gets over 20 points because they're moving too far, then you have to draw a card at the end of the round. And if that number of that card is over 20, your side launches nukes and you lose. To be honest, I've played this game probably a dozen times and I've won maybe twice. It's hard, but we talked about that earlier. Solo games, I think, should be hard. It's fun. The last time I played this game, I literally made it to the 10th round. The last card of the game I played, we nuked them. So I was going to lose either way, but it's like, oh man, I was so close to having a less bad loss this time. So that's the basics of the game. It's not a difficult game to learn to play. The rule book is, I don't know, 12 pages or something like that.
Right.
So, but it's fun.
Yeah, I think you hit on everything like brilliantly. The one like kind of difference here between what I've seen in States of Siege, usually in States of Siege, if one line makes it, you lose.
Yeah.
This has different ways for you to lose, and then every line has to lose. Although if that happens, then that's a humiliating defeat,
right,
and you should pack up and try again. Yeah, this was really refreshing. It was really fun to play. I mean, mechanically, you have objectives each turn, which are like, if you can go for those and knock those out and like achieve them. Some of them, like especially early on, like I had two. One time I was playing, I had Charlie and Delta both had to score 4 hits.
That's tough.
It was, especially on your first mission, because you
Sure.
haven't knocked out any defenses yet.
Right.
I was like, all right, I'm going to go for one of these. And so you can get more resource points with those objectives. Then you go into recon phase, and like recon is like it's not really press your luck. It's like, all right, we're going to run recon until we bust. And then that can open up new types of missions. Then you assign your groups. You run all your groups. Then you do a ground combat phase, so like your close air support. If you did that, that assists the ground combat phase. That's what prevents the thrust lines from advancing. You got reinforcements come on. Certain events can happen. You do the points.
Yeah.
You re-rack, and you go again.
And the nice thing about those recon missions is that they allow you to do a decapitation strike, which lets you actually take the worst cards out of the game.
Right.
Which is really nice.
Which that's like, and I think that's what's really a good thing about this game. I don't think I'm quite ready to like go into final thoughts, but like, there is this like, the more you play, the more you like, there's growth in the game. Like then you start identifying cards that you want to take out because they're awful. You identify the importance of taking out the defense tracks, and like, and those get like, you can do work on them, but they can also like, they can re-strengthen those. It's not like once you've knocked them out, they're completely out. Basically,
the defense tracks give you... So the way the card resolution works is every card has different resolution values, but they all go from 0 to 10. And if their number is equal or higher than yours, so say I send 8 points of air-to-air combat into a mission. I send 8 in. I send a 6 and a 2 or 2 4s or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then when I draw the card, if I draw an 8, 9, or 10, then the whole mission fails. But if I have knocked their air defense down, their air defense track is now at a -1, then an 8 for them becomes a 7 and the mission passes. Well, toward the end of the game, you can get their air defense. I can't remember how high. You can get it down to like -6 or something, and their ground defense down to about the same, which means you don't no longer have to send 2 planes to do the job. You can send 1 plane in and basically guarantee your mission, which means at the beginning of the game, you can really only send about 3 air packages into fight. Whereas toward the end of the game, you can really double that up through the use of PGMs and having their air tracks knocked down and everything, so you can get more done with less.
Yeah, and the things that flow through, or that make it through to like the final target, basically you take whatever the applicable number is. So let's just say it's 8 air rating, or let me do 8 ground, and you divide that by 5, drop in your remainder, and that's how many hits you're going to inflict. So if it's 8, that's 1. So obviously you want another plane, the 2 more, to contribute, so you get 2 hits. But you need those planes early on to either assign them to other missions for the tracks or run in escorts or whatever. You talked about like the 2 tests you do, the ground defense and air defense. The other component of this game is you do it's very simple, but like you do manage repairs and move things from like a damaged side back into your pool.
And you have a decision on that pilots as well, because there is actually a place that you can use your damaged planes without risk of damaging them further, and there's a place that you can stick them to temporarily lower the enemy's air defenses as well.
That's like, there's 3 scenarios, each with like different like escalation settings basically, and that's the game.
Yeah.
I think where I want to start, and I want to get your thoughts on this too, is what we look for when we're playing a solo war game. And for me, it needs to tell a story, right? Because otherwise, why am I playing a solo game? I want a story. I want to be able to be entertained and be like, whoa, that was really cool.
And I want to be a part of the story. I don't want to be an observer to the story.
Yes, for sure. So story with interesting decisions. The other thing I want is I want it to play like relatively quick. It doesn't need to be super fast. I'm fine spending like an hour doing it, but like if I could get a game out in 30 minutes, which I did with this, like because it was going so poorly and then I scooped, but like, I mean, it was over essentially. So it needs to play relatively quick. And then more importantly, I think it needs to like set up quick. If I have to spend way too long setting up a solo game, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, and this one does set up really quickly. I mean, you basically, you've got some markers, and you've got your planes, which you, depending on what scenario, you're going to use almost all of them. You maybe just need to figure out which ones are reinforcements, but yeah, it sets up super quick.
So that's kind of like what I want to get out of a solo game, or like what are the kind of the at least beginning marks for a good solo game? Like, do you look for anything else, or?
Setup is nice. It's mostly the first 2 things you said. And for me, the biggest thing about a solo game is I want to have interesting decisions. I don't want to feel like I'm just following, I don't want the die to tell me what happened. Yes.
And although this is you flip a card and it tells you what happens, there are, I'm going to back up real quick and just say NATO Air Commander rocks, and it checked all of those boxes in great ways for me. The interesting decision, sure, you flip over a card and that's fate and that tells the story, but the decisions here are making up those air packages and how you're going to allocate your forces, and then what you're going to target to make sure your missions are as successful as possible.
Yeah, and there's a lot of risk reward involved in that, because you can, okay, do I want to send this plane on this mission to guarantee that it succeeds, or do I want to have a second mission going and maybe I'll get lucky, I can hit something twice,
what I do have a question before we get too far away from it, and it leaves me. What do you like to use the stealth fighter for?
I usually use him
general.
for either attacking the air defenses or the ground defenses. One of those two, whichever one I need more. The stealth fighter is an interesting one because he goes on a mission all by himself. You can put him with other people, but really his goal is just to be by himself, and he can avoid a bunch of the defenses, and you just draw 1 card for him. But if you draw 10, he's out of the game permanently.
Right. And then usually you're just going to get 1 hit because he's a 6. He's really good on the dead missions.
Yeah.
Because it uses a strike. Same with the air missions. So he'll get a hit. It's just you better not roll a 10 or pull a 10 on either of those categories.
And every aircraft in the game has a air value, a ground value, and a strike value. And the rules are pretty straightforward. On the back, it's got the sequence of play. The only thing I ever had to look up is figuring out, even after I played it several times, okay, what do I use ground value against, and what do I use strike value against? Other 100%. Than that, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, and we talked about this, like, there is a lot of decisions to be made here. I don't want to oversell that. This is a very easy, like, mechanically simple game. It's a lighter solo war game.
Yep.
With good, interesting space. So, like, I don't want to, like, oversell that and lead anyone down the wrong path. But that being said, I started playing this on BGA, and I don't have my copy yet. But I was enjoying it so much playing this that, like, this is just going to be a game that I own. Yeah,
and last time I talked to Brad Smith was at the beginning of the year because we were talking about our most anticipated releases this year. And he said Warsaw Pact Air Commander was probably going to come out this year, which is the sequel to this game. I haven't heard anything else out about it, so I assume that's still on track, but he is working on the next one in this series, and I'm curious to see how that one comes out as well.
Yesterday he said, I'm going to quote his tweet here. He said, I'm very slowly working on 2 games at the moment.
I saw that. And neither of them were yeah.
No. The first one is about the Marines landing on Koh Tang in 1975. That sounds awesome. The other is about Wild Weasel in Vietnam. The title is You Gotta Be Shitting Me, and no, I'm not changing it.
Yeah. So when I saw him tweet that, I almost tweeted him back saying, does that mean you're not working on Warsaw WPAC? But I think from what I've heard from him in the past, he is that one is close to being done. So I think he's talking about future games.
So if Warsaw Pact was one of your most anticipated, I don't think you said it yet. But like, so what do you think of the game?
Oh, I love this game. This is a game that I play. I get it out at least once a year, and I'll play it 2 or 3 times and put it back. So like I said, I got it when it first came out or close to it. It's been out, 4 years now? And I think I've played it a dozen times. So that sounds about right.
And I think that's all you need to pull it out for. Right. It's not like, you're not going to have these really in-depth conversations about it. It fits into this spot really well, and it does it really well. And that spot is, pull it out, do it a few times, do the thing, pick your cool air missions, and then do the thing. It would be cool to like really trick this out and then like assign like the aircraft types to the counters or like give your pilots names or like if you really wanted to, just to really add the story element to it.
The pilots are not a huge deal in this game. Basically they get you a redraw and then they're gone. So, they're not, I don't usually buy the pilots. You have the things you can spend your resource points on are PGMs, pilots, and repairing your aircraft. And I spend very close to 100% on them on PGMs. I just buy as many as I can every turn. And I use them all and buy as many as I can again.
So I think we can have some fun here with the recommended reading because like anything goes, right? Any Cold War gone hot, piece of fiction is going to work here. I did tweet at Brad Smith and said, hey, what's the official playlist? Or I said, do you have a playlist? And he tweeted out an official NATO Air Commander Spotify playlist. So we'll have a link to the show notes. So I don't know about recommended reading or watching, but there is, if you're interested, about 20 songs that you can turn on while you play through a game.
Nice.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah. I would say anything by, Larry Bond or something like that would fit in with this genre. It's, historical fiction kind of thing. Obviously, there's no history to go with this because thankfully this didn't happen.
Yeah, so I guess Larry Bond did part of Red Storm Rising. Would that be one?
Yeah,
because I still haven't read Red Storm Rising. Yeah. Yeah, so my recommended reading is recommended watching, and that's just go watch Red Dawn.
Yeah. There you go. Wolverines.
I mean, that's right. I mean, there's a ground element to this, but yeah. Okay, should we rank it?
Yeah, let's do.
All right, so we have a list. It's a list of every war game ever made, ranked from worst or best to worst. And yeah, Rich and I are on a mission to reveal every single game from this massive, massive block of muddy marble where we are merely the sculptors, the arbiters. We just take what is fact and reveal it to our listeners.
That's all. No big deal.
That's all. How many have we ranked? Including TSWW now?
Oh, we just put another one on there, so we're up to 48 now.
All right, how many more?
Well, there's several different answers, all of which are acceptable. According to BGG, there are about... How many war games are on BGG? A bunch. That's how many
Correct
there are.
answer.
But we can either stop when we have ranked at least 48 more, and that number will go up to 49 today, or when we have played every game that we both own.
Okay. Or the more realistic one is to rank all 109 pages of BGG war games.
Yes. Yeah.
And because it doesn't matter, games that aren't classified as war games that we throw on this list.
Yep. Like viticulture.
All right, let's rank it.
All right. I think the obvious place to start, for me anyway, is Pavlov's House. I think it's compatible.
Compatible? I like this more. Make it easy for you.
All right.
Unless you're like, no, I like Pavlov's House more. I think I like this more. I just think Pavlov's House is so tense and so hard. Mm-hmm. But Pavlov's House is good. I think I do like this more.
I think this one is more fun.
Uh-huh.
Pavlov's House might be a better game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
They're both right in there though. And I would not argue either way, but I like this right around where Pavlov's House is. So
okay.
Pavlov's House is currently number 33.
Gosh. My dog has just released the most toxic fart I think I've ever smelled. Oh my gosh.
Stop feeding your dog chili.
No. Oh my gosh, he's such a gassy good boy. He's a perfect dog, and then he repays me with this. Oh,
so
okay.
I don't remember us zeroing in on that one this fast. So let's play around Pavlov's House. Pavlov's House it's set up probably about the same. Pavlov's House is not tough to set up. Pavlov's House definitely takes longer.
Takes longer. I do think it takes longer to set up as well.
Probably a little bit, yeah. Pavlov's House is interesting because it's got the 3 different scales all in one. This one is a simpler, lighter game. But like I said, I think this one's probably more fun to play than Pavlov's House. And you know what? It is a game after all. So I'm going to give it to the fun game.
Wow.
So I'm happy with...
To say that Pavlov's House isn't fun.
I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm saying this one's
You said you're going to give it to the fun game.
No, I'm saying if the tiebreaker should be the more fun game. So.
More fun
game.
game.
So,
important.
Yeah, make this one 33. I'm okay with that.
Me.
Now you changed your mind? You would argue the other way?
No. Above Pavlov's House is 1754. And although I like 1754, Plains Indian Wars is making me rethink all of existence in my love of that game.
It's a cancer that's spreading.
I'll tell you where Plains Indian War goes. Fine. Yeah, we can do that. We don't need to waffle on it the entire time.
Right.
Okay, so
I'm gonna
one
go to
above
Discord. I'm
Pavlov's
gonna
House.
put Plains Indian Wars and Zeppelin Raider up on our voting and see where you vote.
Oof. I know which way I'd go. Plains Indian Ward is better than Zeppelin Raider.
That's good to hear.
All right.
Every time I even think about Zeppelin Raider, I think of A Christmas Story when the kid's playing with the little Zeppelin on wheels on Christmas morning.
Whoopee!
All right, yeah, I like this one at 33. It's good. NATO
Air Commander, number 33, episode 38.
33rd best war game of all time.
So far.
And Zeppelin Raider is creeping toward the wrong side of the half-century mark.
Again, top-heavy list, sir.
Yeah. You could put Plains Indian Wars on just so that we have 50.
Should we?
I'm not going to play it. Not now. So you can wait till the end of the year, or you can do it now. Your choice. Maybe you should wait till after you sell it, so keep some of its value.
There you go. Right. Well, it's going in the prize pool.
Okay.
Yeah, we can wait for the end of the year. We're already deep in it, and we can't do it next month because next month we are double dipping again. So for those that don't know, we determine our games by a vote of a very exclusive group of individuals, and that is our patrons. If you want to be a patron, you can go to patreon.com/historytable. You can join and you can hang out with us. You get a beer at Historic Fest at our patron meetup, behind the scenes stuff, all that kind of stuff. But the best thing is you can vote for our monthly game. And if you join at a certain level, you get a one-time, you just get to pick. You get to cut the line. You get to say, hey, you guys play this. And as long as it's a reasonable pick, like as long as you don't pick TSWW Barbarossa, then we're probably going to listen to you. So we have one for next month, and that is Front Toward Enemy, a game we've talked about and are both super interested in.
Yeah, Vietnam game.
A tactical game.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely be doing Front Toward Enemy, but Rich and I also want to play other games. That's so right. We're going to do our normal vote, and the way we come up with that is we pick some games, and then Rich and I also stump for some games. Rich, what are you stumping for May?
Well, this is the year of naval wargaming, and I've been reading all these books about the Age of Sail, so Flying Colors is on my shelf of shame. I've been wanting to play that for a while, so if you tell me to play it, I'm going to play it this month.
You know what? I can get behind that. I've held off on Flying Colors because I want to get the American Serpents of the Seas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's super hard to find, so I'm cool with picking this because then maybe that tells me is Serpents of the Seas.
If you buy the new Flying Colors, does that include Serpent of the Seas?
No.
Okay.
It includes all the cool Flying Color stuff that's come out.
Okay.
So, all right, I had a choice and I changed it live. Throwing you a curveball here. Thunder Dawn.
Obviously, I'm okay with that one too. That's good.
Yeah. Missouri pick.
So you already own this one? Did you buy it last year when I bought mine?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
I don't think I got the Shiloh one, but I got this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay, so Rich just talked about it. So Flying Colors, Thunder Dawn, and there will be 3 or 4 other choices you can pick from. Patreon.com/historytable. There we go. All right, now's the point of the show where the kids, you've been listening for an hour and 45 minutes, the kids are asleep in the back seat of the car. We're still going on, and now we listen to this is the adult after hour, where we talk about things like
History on the Table After Dark.
That's right, where we talk about things like trains, smokestacks, taking tricks, BGG Golden Geek nominees. I think that's where we'll start. So, Board Game Geek, or do you have anything war game related before we get into the non-war game stuff?
What's a war game? No, I don't have anything. We're done with all that.
Good. And you know what we're gonna do now that we're done talking about war
games on the list.
I was gonna say we're gonna keep talking about war games. So BGG announced their Golden Geek nominees for 2021, and the War Games is a pretty solid list.
Yeah, it's nice. And this totally slipped under my radar. I've been so busy with work, I haven't really been keeping up on stuff, so I didn't even see that this came out. But
let's just go through.
Let's do them in order.
Sure. 1979, Revolution in Iran.
It's just alphabetical order, so.
Right. Absolute War. GMT.
Yeah.
Atlantic Chase, GMT. Bayonets and Tomahawks, GMT. Commands and Colors, GMT. Conquest and Consequence, GMT. The Dark Summer, GMT. Red Flag Over Paris, GMT. Soldiers and Postmen Uniforms, DVG. Undaunted, Osprey Games. And 1979 is from... Oh, I can't think of their name right now. Oh, it's from the Dietz Foundation, who is doing Littoral Commander. That's the
okay, sure,
the nonprofit wargame company. Great list. I've not played all of these. As I'll just real quick, I'll show my full hand here how I voted. So from what I've played, I would say Atlantic Chase is 1 using BGG ranking deal. Bayonets and Tomahawks is 2. Red Flag Over Paris is 3. Commands and Colors Samurai Battles is 4. And the other 6 I've not played, but there are some of those that I'm very interested in.
Yeah. I mean, I think, let's see. I guess Atlantic Chase is the only one of these that I've played. So that's my number 1.
Oh, Bayonets and Tomahawks, so good.
But,
so what interests you from this list?
Well, I was going to take it the other direction first, not what interests me, but BGG tends to be a popularity contest. So
sure.
Given the way Atlantic Chase is so hard to find and sold out and everything, I'm guessing that one will probably win. Of the other games, so Dark Summer, I actually have played that one a little bit. I forgot that I was helping play test that one with a friend. And it was fine. It was not bad. It was not great. It was just fine. Bayonets and Tomahawks, I haven't played yet. Undaunted, I'm not really very interested in. 1979, I'm looking at that one now just because of who published it. I'm interested in at least taking a look and finding out more about it.
Yeah, and he that was designed by Dan Bullock. That's a game that I don't see it all the time, but when I do see it, I think people are really into it.
Yeah.
Plus the theme, there's just not a lot of things on that, so
right.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a good, most war gamers, I shouldn't assume, but I think, this is a pretty good list. I think it's hard for something like another GCACW title to crack this list. I'm just assuming here. Other than Undaunted Reinforcements and Dark Summer and Commands and Color. Okay, so, sorry, 30% of these, I guess, are, continuations of series. But I think it's a good list. Strong showing by GMT, obviously. Anything else, or should I take that transition I laid down and roll that into our GMT monthly update?
Yeah, let's go to GMT. This is all GMT anyway. We'll go to that.
Right. Okay, so GMT monthly update came out. A few games new to the P500 list, but only 2 new-ish ones.
Mm-hmm.
Battle Command Volume 1, remember we talked about how the Fast Action Battle series was going away? Well, this is the...
Yeah, same designer, so yeah.
Right. This is that new series replacing Fab.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Borkin.
Yep.
Which is...
So this is the one
really
that came from Zenobia. The Zenobia Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I missed that in there.
Yep. So, yeah, I didn't know anything about this. But November 19th, 1493, Spanish conquistadors propelled by greed and armed with enlightenment landed on the sandy shores of Borkin, home of the Taino people. If there are any Taino listeners, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. So yeah, it came from the Zenobia Awards. I guess it's the first one that's hadn't been published yet, but the first one ready to be published from there. I don't know if this person won it or not, but that's what that one is.
Man, some people are already salty about this one.
Oh, no surprise there, I guess.
Wow.
Where are you seeing that though?
On the page, people are already rating this a 1.
Oh my gosh.
I think because I don't know. Oh Lord.
Oh, Borkin is modern day Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I saw that on there. Sneaky and biased banner ads. Well, okay. This game sounds really cool to me.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's the price on this? Ooh.
What is it?
Okay, 56.
That's high for. Let me see if there's any art or anything on the.
Yeah, there's a prototype map, and just kind of looking at what that map looks like. I don't know. I think this should be, I don't know, 50. I'll need to see more. It just seems high. I am interested in this, like thematics and like cool new mechanics. I'm down for all that. So, plus play solo well, and yeah, it looks pretty cool. Borkin, are you interested?
It's not something I'm looking at. I mean, it'd be another one that if someone else played it, and I might look at it then. It's not the one that I would not play, but it's also not one I'm looking to P500. So
nice. All right. Well, coming up in the pipeline, we have Almoravid. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
Some reprints. You are getting Red Storm Baltic approaches, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We're getting Battle for the Shenandoah, and some Last 100 Yards mission packs.
Oh, nice.
Okay, those are some of these things we've already known. They've been at the printer. Let's do a real quick check for Control F Red Winter. Still sitting nearing art department readiness. I think it's been there a long time.
Yeah.
That's too bad. All right, let's look at the hints. You want to guess some more?
Oh, yeah, let me find them. Or you can just read them if you got them in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh, here they are.
Okay.
Strategy game set in East Africa.
I guess Simonich's Africa game's already been announced, right? It's not Zokbon directly, but it's similar.
Has it? I don't remember that.
I thought it had. I think it already had.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was a few months back. Other than that, I don't have any guesses for this.
New CDG from a design duo new to GMT. We're not going to be able to guess that because everything's new there.
That's right. A solitary strategy game set in 15th century China.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the topic. Solitaire only, even though we just did that. Mm-hmm. Not always the thing I'm jumping at.
And it says something new for Commands and Colors players.
Sure.
So maybe like another... What's the latest Commands and Colors? Is it Samurai?
Samurai Medieval.
So maybe it's like another nation for the Samurai game or something like that.
Maybe Medieval? So.
Yeah. Could be the Huns or something like that. Which might be cool.
There you go. All right. Everything else is just kind of the same stuff.
Yeah.
A good
I didn't
update?
see anything else on there that really jumped out at me.
Let's see. What do we got next? Oh, a little train talk. Or do you hear that, Rich?
What is that sound I hear?
That is me inserting a train sound effect. Yeah, it's History Off the Rails, folks. That's the name. We're going to maybe stick with it.
Yes, and I want to hear about Dutch Intercity because it sounds like you went nuts over this one.
Yeah, okay. So Cube Rails' recent obsession, it's great stuff. Just lighter train games, not the full scale of 18XX games. Iberian Railways, a great game. There's 4 different actions you can take. You can build out your own tracks, and you kind of score based off your routes hitting different cities. Whoever gets the most of them. It's fun. It's not the one I want to spend my time talking about as much. I do really like it and recommend it. Dutch Intercity, though. Whoa, man, this one's cool. So the route lane aspect of this game is super simple. You just claim the route, and if no one else claims it, you get it, and you put your cube down. Even if you don't have the money, you get the route. And if you and someone else claim it, you kind of do a secret bid to see who gets to build on that route. Where this game really shines is the auctioning of shares, because it's how the cash makes its way into companies and what those companies do. All that cash left over and what they've used, any money they've spent to build tracks actually goes into the treasury and goes to shareholders. But the auction, you go around the table until so you do one full round around the table. If we're playing 4 players, each of those 4 players are going to pick a share to put up for auction, okay? Once that initial round around the table happens, as soon as someone is out of cash, no more auctioning. And so it's this really interesting component of decision space of how much to pay to make sure the auction ends without giving someone else an advantage. Meaning, I may want to overpay for that share you just put up for auction, because if I spend my money, then the bidding's done. Like, we're done. We're not putting more up. But like, worst case scenario is I bid and I win and I'm left over with $2 and everyone else has like $7 left, because everyone else might be, if they work together, they may each get like 2 shares apiece, and I have $2 and can't do diddly with it, Really, again, light game. It's got a great auction mechanic. I really like this. One of the best cube rails I've played so far, Dutch Inner City.
Interesting.
There's a redraw of the map if you want to do a print and play. Finding the rules is the hard part. But if you go to BGG and you go to the images, you'll find a redraw of the map that you can do your own print and play on. All you need then is cubes to like mark where trains have built, and then certificates. You don't need the route cards, really.
Cool.
So there you go.
And that's the first time you played that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you were talking about how much you liked it.
It was fantastic. That's all the train talk I have this month.
Yeah, I guess I've played a little bit on 18xx games, but nothing like super memorable. I think we just started up another. What are we playing now? I'll actually check right now. We just started up another game of 18AL.
Oh yeah, you started up with someone who was new to 18 or just train games in general.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Nice.
we'll see how that one goes. Nothing really remarkable. I think we're like in the second operating round right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rich, it's time to gather the family around.
Yes. It's dark outside. It's feeling spooky.
Old Gods of Appalachia RPG.
Yeah, you get that email today?
No, what is it?
They are up to 1.5 million.
Wow.
And they just unlocked another stretch goal. So, yeah, so they've got an RPG coming out. I just signed up initially just for the PDF version. As they're getting more and more stretch goals unlocked, before they close it out, I will probably upgrade that to something. But I'm definitely in for, at the very minimum, the PDF.
Yeah, so the downside here is it's really expensive.
Yeah, it is.
For, like, just in terms of an RPG, just the book is $70. And you get the book, a PDF, some audio files, and some, like, prop stuff to, like, help you make props for the game.
Yeah, and honestly, that stuff I don't really care about.
Right.
I mean, if there was more... I would be more interested in more content, I guess, rather than things like props and the audio files and stuff like that. I would want, adventures, scenarios, background, NPCs, stuff like that would be the stuff that would get me to pay more for.
The one thing I'll say is my understanding and my past experience with Monty Cook stuff is it's good, top quality stuff.
Yeah.
The downside is I think those stretch goals don't come with everything. I need to spend some more time adjusting my own. I don't want a lot of this kind of just crap. I'm really excited for the source material. I mean, Rich and I can't shut up about this show. It's all very cool, very exciting, but like that's really expensive for an RPG book.
Mm-hmm.
I know an IP's tied to it, but I don't know. So I haven't really set on it. I'm very excited, even with using the whatever system it's using. It's 100% source material here that's carrying it for me.
Yeah.
I guess that's. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm looking at some of the stretch goals here now. So at 550k, they did have a new adventure, 350k more creatures, 1.1 million more NPCs. But yeah, a lot of it is stuff that I really don't care about. A poster map, deluxe book with the art plates, audio for the game table. That's fine. I don't care if somebody likes it, great, but I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, again, I just need to see what's included. Yeah. It's Cypher system, by the way. That was the system. Yes. And you have messed around with Cypher, right?
A little bit. I've never actually played it, but I own the book, and I started creating a campaign that used it. So
nice, cool. Yeah, so it's Old Gods of Appalachia RPG. It's going to close in 5 days. It's just something Rich and I have been really excited about, and so it's finally here. All right, let's talk about the other games. I have a really quick game that I'm really high on right now. It's a very simple, light card game. It's called Mask Men.
Okay.
And it's a shedding game. Have you ever played anything like Teach-U or like or college or when you're in the Navy or any time after, like something like Presidents and Assholes?
I don't think so. Doesn't sound familiar.
So, like, generally speaking, if I in those games, and this is a little bit different, if I play Three of a Kind, you can then play cards of a better Three of a Kind.
Oh, okay.
And you want to be the first one out.
Okay.
And so the interesting thing about Maskmen is you're doing the same thing. If I play 2 of the weakest wrestler, you can then play 2 of a stronger wrestler and beat it and keep climbing until you're out of cards. But in Maskmen, you don't know which wrestlers are the strongest and weakest, and you do that instead of playing, if I play 2 of a kind, you play 2 of a kind. If I play 1 of one wrestler, you would then, instead of playing 1, where you would normally match, you would play 2, proving that wrestler is stronger. And you kind of keep doing that until all the wrestlers have been proven or maybe not. There's no, you'll never get like a super crazy play where you'll play all your cards at once, but you're always limited to a max of 3 cards, and it's just a very fun, quick game I really liked. I've been trying to play it as much as I can, where it's got this cool element where you don't know how good your cards are until you start playing through the round.
Yeah. Interesting. No, never heard of it.
Yeah, it's from Oink Games. They're those people that make those little boxed games.
Mm-hmm.
You may see it like Miniature Market or something.
Yeah.
What about you? Anything else in the other games?
So
category?
yeah, actually, while I was at Donkey Con, after I got done playing Arracourt, I played a game of CFR, which I had never played before.
Yeah.
You played that one?
No, I own it. I bought an eBay copy because of the obsession of our friends with it.
Yeah, they've got like a league going and everything. So I played a little bit. What was the racing game that we played in Colombia? It wasn't CFR.
Grand Prix.
Grand Prix. Okay, so to me, having played both of them, they felt pretty similar. This one, I think I might maybe liked this one a little bit more because you got to actually build your car at the beginning. So everybody got like the exact same deck of cards, and then you got to pick like, this is my braking, this is my acceleration, and then so like you could get like higher top speed for +2 and then worse acceleration for -1, and you had to come out, I think they all had to have the same number. I think it was 2. It doesn't matter, but everyone has the same. So it's like a point buy, but you get to make your own car the way you want to make it. And then you get to bid for starting positions, stuff like that. We only played 1 lap, and it was fun. I mean, it was, I can see how it could be deep strategy for people that really get into it and everything. But for those of us just playing 1 lap, never playing it before, it was easy to pick up on, and it was a fun game.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I've been playing Arkham Horror Living Card Game, which we probably talked about before, but I've been playing that more lately. In fact, my wife and my daughter both wanted to play it, so I went out and bought some more cards because the starter kit doesn't really have enough to make 3 full decks. So we've been playing that, and my daughter she says she likes it, but she kind of zones out every time we play. So my wife and I think decided last night, you know what, we're just going to play this ourselves. So we're going to play through the full campaign, or at least the first. I've got the core set and the Dunwich Legacy. So we'll probably play through both of those and probably continue on from there.
I would say, obviously you do you. Dunwich Legacy blows the base box campaign out of the water, in my opinion. I like kind of the story involved with the base campaign, but it's really hard to do well in it. Mm-hmm. Dunwich Legacy is really when I was like, that's what really made Arkham Horror LCG click for me. It's really good.
Okay, cool. I mean,
nice.
To the point, like, where would you say just skip the core box and go straight to Dunwich?
No, I think if you do it, because it's only 3 missions.
Right.
In the core box, and so just do it, but don't let it deter you. And then I think it just takes the other ones take more of a story approach and more incremental ramp up, just better cards and interactions. And
we are actually already, because I couldn't find another core set, and I was just going to buy just another investigator, but you can buy the 5 investigators from Dunwich for $30 or something like that. So I just got those and figured I'll just pull some cards out of their deck, add them into the starter decks. And the one card that we really like is my wife is playing the the street urchin, Wendy, I think.
Uh-huh.
And her with the fire hydrant, she can evade anything. Because she's got like a 4 evade, and the fire hydrant gives you a +3 evade or something. So 7 evade, she's just like disabling almost every monster in front of us, which is really nice.
Nice. Yeah. Like the green characters are, I don't remember if Wendy's green or not, but like evade based characters.
Yeah.
I played that solo not too long ago, and it was just tons of fun to basically like run around, grab my clues, like, ho, can't touch me, can't touch this. And you just do your own thing. Yeah, I love some. We did play some Arkham Horror at Donkey Kong and just got destroyed.
Okay, I knew you guys were talking about it, but I think you probably played. Obviously, I wasn't there much.
Right.
One of the nights I wasn't there, so.
Yeah, we did the blob-based one-shot scenario, and it started out like, I was like, oh, cool, here we go. Like, okay, I really like this. And then it kind of like progressed to like, I don't like this scenario. And then once we made some progress, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Actually, we're still going to lose very, very badly, but I actually kind of like this scenario now. It's a hard one.
Nice. Is that one of the one-shots? It just comes in a blister pack? Okay.
Yeah. I've played 3 of the one-shots now. Curse of the Rougarou, the Hotel. The Hotel's pretty cool, but we didn't have the right group composition. You really, at least how it shook out for us, should probably come prepared with some and that more or less seems to be, maybe not Curse of the Rougarou so much, but the Blob and the Hotel really seem to be combat-based. Like, you need a red and a blue character probably to really go after those two.
We lost the last scenario we played. I was playing Roland because I was just kept drawing and couldn't get my gun. So, you know, it's hard to win a combat character when you don't have a weapon in your hand. So,
right. And that is something more like when you're playing the ongoing stuff, like losing in that game doesn't always mean defeat. It may just have ongoing consequences.
Yeah.
And then I enjoy most of the time. There are some real stinkers I haven't, but like most of the time I'm okay losing in Arkham Horror because the outcome is still interesting and the gameplay is good enough.
That's good. I'm sure we'll finish up the core box by the next time we record, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Did you get the reprint of Dunwich, like where they put everything in one box, or did you get some of the older stuff of it?
I think the Dunwich I have was relatively new. I don't have the new core set, though, because my core set is from a while ago. I mean, so not that long ago, but...
They've changed how they're releasing the cycles.
Yeah, I knew that.
And they're going back to some of the older ones as well. So like now with the newest one, you buy the box of investigators and then you buy the adventure. So like before it would be like, okay, here's your Dunwich Legacy base box, and then you buy these 6 packs.
Because I do have...
Because you said you bought the investigators, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's the new model, and it may be a little bit more expensive, but it's also nice to be like, okay, here's everything. You don't have to wait for anything if you want it, go. Or if you just care about the investigators, here you go, too.
Yeah, and I noticed they also have, what I was looking for is they have an investigator deck in a blister pack, like a brand new investigator, full deck, pre-built and everything, but they were out of those at Miniature Market. But that's what I really wanted because I don't really enjoy the deck building part of it. I just want to play it.
You know what? I started the same way, and then like once I really found a character I liked, and then like I got more into it.
Yeah.
It's not as it's just something that grew on me. It's not the best.
Well, that's kind of why I stopped playing Lord of the Rings LCG, just because that one it's very much about the deck building.
Sure. Nice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. All kinds of different. Whole bunch of war games, some card games, train games, dreams of RPGs playing.
Yeah, I guess I didn't look at the results from the doodle, but I guess looks like Tom's Town's not going to happen this month.
Yeah, I got to talk about or we got to run a man down.
Yeah.
And so I'll ask something about. I'm not crazy about running a man down, but I would like to get one more in.
Yeah.
To I do have a little questionnaire for you.
All right.
I forgot to put it on here, so it's a little bit off guard.
All right, here we go.
Okay, first off, congratulations to me for winning the Hockey Hotties inaugural.
Absolutely, yeah. So much
Bringing,
respect.
Bringing the championship home to the MMP division.
Yep.
I defeated Ryan in the championship, but we're not here to gloat about that. We're here instead to talk about playoffs. And you, Rich, are going to pick.
Okay.
Every first round matchup.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
Yeah. You're going to read them to me because I don't have them in front of me.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course. All right, so we'll start with the Atlantic.
Now, the East is going to be a crapshoot for me. Those are going to be total guesses.
Sure.
I don't really follow the East too much, but go for it.
All right. Point leading Florida Panthers or Washington Capitals?
I'm going to go with Florida on that one. Although,
okay.
I mean, it's tough to count Ovechkin out, but I'll go Florida. They've been so good all year. Although, it wouldn't completely surprise me to see them do what Tampa did a few years ago. But
I could see that.
I think it'll be Florida.
All right. Then it's in the Atlantic as well. It's Toronto and Tampa Bay.
And here's where I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go Tampa.
Nice. So Toronto's the 2 seed, Tampa's the 3 seed.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's going to be Tampa.
Nice.
Toronto has a curse, and Tampa knows how to win playoff series.
My gut is to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think Toronto, if they don't,
I know.
Toronto's going to burn if they don't.
That's probably the case.
All right. Then in the Metropolitan, Carolina Hurricanes versus Boston Bruins.
Well, for two reasons. One, I will never pick Boston. And two, I'm rooting for the Canes over there, so we'll go Canes.
Hell yeah. Love it. I won 87 cents for them winning the Metropolitan. The big bets are them winning the conference and then winning the Stanley Cup. All right. The other matchup is New York Rangers versus Pittsburgh Penguins.
I think I'll go Pittsburgh on that one. Blues have played both of them recently, and I've actually seen all those games, and Pittsburgh looked better.
Yeah, I think that I'd agree with that. I would go Pittsburgh as well. Central Division. Number 1, Colorado Avalanche or 4 seed Nashville Predators.
Man, I would do anything to see the Preds win that, but it's going to be Colorado.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're a little bit like Colorado's had some early exits as well. I mean, obviously
they have, but this year they just look so good.
Yeah,
they don't have any weaknesses right now.
They had 119 points, and the Panthers had 122 points.
I know.
Both
it's crazy.
Killer
it's
years.
Crazy. I mean, a lot of teams this year. I mean, what the Blues get 107 or something.
109,
and they finished in third place.
Well, okay, but the Pacific Division, who got in? The Kings? I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
Calgary is really the only good team on that side.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So then we'll go with your boys, Wild or Blues.
Yeah, it's got to be the Blues.
Nice. You think you can stop Krill the Thrill, huh?
Yeah, it's gonna be the Blues.
All right.
Blues finished with 9 20-goal scorers this year. That's amazing.
That's crazy. Yeah, and that's the other thing about the Rangers. I don't think the Rangers had like a dominant.
Yeah.
That can't be right. 52 goals from Chris Kreider. Damn. I guess I take that back. The Rangers did have a.
Yeah, Blues top guys for goals was Tarasenko, and I think he had like 35 or something. Which, I mean, obviously that's good, but nobody in the Blues was in that superstar category. But come playoffs, it's depth. 9 guys that have scored 20 goals this year. That's going to be tough to stop.
Yeah, I mean, the Canes are in a similar boat. What's good is that the offense is picking back up after a pretty bad March.
Yeah.
Things seem to be on the up for them. Okay, on to the Pacific Division. 2 teams I hope both lose. Calgary Flames or Dallas Stars?
Yeah, I mean, the Calgary is really the only good team, and Dallas was lucky to even make it in, so I'd go Calgary there.
They just about blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then the final matchup, Oilers, Kings.
I mean, that's like two teams that both step over themselves all the time, you know? I mean, Oilers, obviously, they've got some amazing top-end talent, but
right,
man, they screw up a lot. But on the other hand, I don't see how the Kings have anything to put up against them. So I guess I'll go Oilers.
Yeah, I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was supposed to be like a pretty down year for the Kings. But obviously they made the playoffs, but it's in the Pacific, which is, pretty weak.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously if you had picked preseason, and I don't really make any official picks or anything, you'd be more likely to see obviously Vegas or maybe even San Jose making it over the Kings.
Right. I mean, the Kings in like pre-COVID were they were on the downward slide. I just haven't followed them much. Yeah. I think it's Edmonton.
It's hard to believe Jonathan Quick is still playing.
Right. Someone had asked me actually like last summer about Jonathan Quick. I was like, no, I don't think that guy's still there. And then I was like, oh shit, he is still there. Yeah, I think Edmonton.
Yeah.
But that would be an interesting Edmonton-Calgary matchup.
Oh yeah, sure.
Nice. All right, there's your hockey content.
Awesome. So let's see. A month from now when we record again, I mean, we'll probably be looking at conference finals then.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Yeah.
So
last week of May,
the first 4 games will go a week. If they go through Game 7, that'll probably extend round 1 for 2 weeks. I guess we might be... You're probably right, but I think there maybe is a chance that we're not there.
Yeah. So let's make our picks just for the conference finals. Who's going to go against who? So I'm going to say...
Okay.
Colorado against... I'm going to say Colorado, Calgary. I mean, I know that's the chalky pick, but I believe it there. Okay. And on the other side, I'm going to go... Can Carolina play Tampa in the second or third round?
They would play... I need a bracket. I have a list. Yeah. I think they would play them in the conference final.
Okay, I'll go Carolina, Tampa then. Then for the finals, I'll go Colorado over Carolina.
Okay.
I'm not rooting for it. I'm just saying Colorado looks like they're unbeatable. But you never know.
Yeah. So Florida, Carolina for the conference finals with Carolina going on in the Stanley Cup. And then in the West... Sure, Colorado. I mean, like, really, I'd rather even the Blues. Yeah. I'd rather any of the other 3 get there. And I'll say Edmonton just to make it spicy and not pick Calgary. With a Avalanche Carolina showdown with Carolina winning it all.
Nice. Well, I hope you're right. Well, I mean, hope it's Blues over Carolina, but...
No. I don't know. I like before, like once I really started following Winnipeg, like my interest in the Wild, I still have some interest in the Wild. I don't dislike their team since I've gotten into hockey, it's a little bit less, but man, that Kaprizov he's going to be good.
Yeah.
The older he gets.
Yeah. The Blues and the Wild are very evenly matched, and they play good hard games against each other. Doesn't seem like they hate each other. I mean, I don't really hate anybody.
Friendly
on the Wild.
rivalry.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it friend, but like there's some teams like Colorado, we're starting to hate them. Vegas, we hate them. So
yeah,
but Minnesota, I don't know. If Minnesota were to somehow win the whole thing, I'd be happy for them.
I don't know if they will, but
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think I'm really hoping for Carolina. Freddie Anderson needs to get healthy if they really want to go deep. But all right, that's going to do it, yeah?
That's it.
I'm getting an alert. Is there hockey tomorrow?
I know the Blues play Monday. I don't know if there are any games tomorrow.
You know what? I think this is the weather update. The Kraken and Jets play tomorrow.
Oh.
And I just have to ask why. Like someone like
exactly.
Like, surely...
That's the one that got snowed out?
I think so. I think that's what this is. Like, they're not going to start Hellebuck, and I can't imagine that... I mean, not that Seattle has any stars, but, like, the Jets aren't going to start, like, Connor or Wheeler or anything,
ridiculous.
Right? I mean, why would you?
Yeah. I
guess because fans have tickets and...
Because I know in baseball, if the game doesn't mean anything, they don't make it up. I'm surprised that they're doing it in hockey.
I don't know about this. Anyways, I was like, what? Jets game tomorrow. But... Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to... We'll see if it shakes out. I think it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to some playoff hockey, though.
Yeah, me
Starts
too.
on Monday.
Absolutely.
I think Canes play Monday at 6, and I won't be able to watch any Blues, but should be able to watch all the other stuff.
Blues play at 8:30 on Monday, which is annoying, but it's always that way. I mean, you've got Blues in Minnesota playing at 8:30. I know. It's stupid.
Maybe if they were playing Colorado, I could see that. But
I know. They do that all the time.
All right. That's going to do it for us, folks. We got some... if you need to join our Discord, there's a link in the show notes. Feel free. Come by and introduce you. If you're joined, like, say hey. Don't just stumble in and then be a ghost or tell us about yourself, what games you like to play. You can vote in the Discord does every war game ever. We're like almost 80% done with it.
Nice.
And then by the time we finish, it'll be time to re-rack and do it again for next year.
Yeah, we've all been voting with like no real idea of how far along. Every once in a while you do say something like that, but we just vote and we don't know how far along we are. It'll be interesting to see how it finally turns out. There's been a few surprises here and there.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like I can click through to see like what's buried behind things that aren't getting picked. And like you kind of forget some of those games because they won't come up because that's just how the force ranking works. Yeah. Thank you to everyone who listens and shares and supports the show, and a special thank you to our patrons who help pay the bills and also help with giveaways and patron meetups, buying everyone a beer, all that stuff. So thanks for doing that. We have a website, historyonthetable.com. Rich, you're online?
Yeah, Trappier Jr. on Twitter is probably the best way to reach me, or on Discord. I'm on there all the time as well.
And if they want to reach you on AOL Instant Messenger?
Yeah, I'm blueslover73 at AOL.com.
Unfortunately, Blues Lover was taken, so you had to settle for Blue Lover.
Yeah.
Blue Lover. I'm at History Table Pod, or the best place is, History on the Table Discord. We're there hanging out. Historic Fest. Get signed up by May 19th. And do the thing. There's a link to the hotel in the on the tabletop.events webpage. The best place to go for that is historicfest.com. HISTORIKC fest.com. There will be a link in the show notes. There's also a link on the main Show on the Table website. We will be back in May, and then we'll take a little pause, but we'll definitely record before May 30th because there will be a baby on the table come June 2nd.
Nice.
All right, that's going to do it, folks.
Thanks, everyone.